Alright, what's up everyone, I'm Filoki, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Chris Carson and what I think he'll be able to do next season going into his final year of his contract. Before I get into that though, I just want to say thank you for 200 subscribers. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if you put 200 people in a room, it would get pretty uncomfortable. And currently as I'm recording this, I'm at 199, so I'd hope I'm at 200 by the time this comes out, but either way, I'd like to thank you, and quickly segueing into a little shameless plug. Hey, subscribe if you're new, that'd be cool. But today I saw on Instagram a video of Chris Carson training, and I'm definitely late to it. I think it was posted like 5 days ago. Like, it was posted a while ago. But Chris Carson, obviously coming off of his hip injury, he looks good. If I'm putting the video up right now, so you'll see it as well. He looks good. He looks like he's got some quick feet. He's making some cuts. He's doing pretty well. And honestly, those ball throws at the end, he's getting like 18 yards, 15 to 18 yards on every single one of those. That seems like a lot. I've never done it, but I'd assume that's heavy and it's difficult. So 18 or so yards is actually it seems pretty good. But to get into the actual stats and his whole contract breakdown, so when it comes to his contract, Chris Carson at pick 249 in 2017, obviously very low pick, one of the last few picks, so he's not making a ton of money. So far in his career, he's made a little over $1.5 million, all of that coming from non-guaranteed money, basically. But going into the last season of his contract, he has a base salary of around $2 million, which is obviously a good amount of money for just about anyone. But as a running back in the NFL, I think Chris Carson knows that he really has to show out this season to get that big contract that he's going to be looking for next offseason by either the Seahawks or any team interested in him. I'd like to see the Seahawks retain him over the offseason, maybe even get him on a contract extension before we actually go into the offseason next year. But either way, I think that this season he will play very well. And I think it's all just a matter of if he stays healthy or not. That's been his biggest thing. He plays very well when he's on the field. If we go and take a look at his stats, you can see in his first season that he ever played, I think that this was because of injury, but he only played 4 games, started 3. He had 200 yards, no rushing touchdowns, but he did have 60 yards and a touchdown in the receiving game, so overall decent year. Only 3 games played though, small sample size. But going right from starting 3 games and only having 200 yards, in his second season in the league, 2018, he had started 14 games, had over 1,100 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. He also had 160 yards receiving, so a very good year. And only in 14 games, that means he did miss 2 games, and I believe we made the playoffs that year as well. I don't think it shows his playoff stats, but I think he missed the playoffs in that year as well. And going into last season, we can see that he played 15 games, so he only missed 1 game when it came to injury, but that was the last game of the season. I think everyone kind of remembers that injury. The whole hip injury thing that happened, he missed the last game of the season, couldn't make it back to the playoffs, and Rashad Penny and CJ Prosise both got injured, so our whole running game was completely destroyed going into the playoffs. It was very disappointing, but getting on to the stats, 15 games he played, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. He also had a pretty good receiving year with 266 yards and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, that's not any Christian McCaffrey kind of numbers, but overall, good season nonetheless. Throughout his career, though, he has had a bit of a fumbling issue. Last year, he had 7 fumbles, and the year before, he had 3 fumbles, so ball security has been a bit of a question. But last year, if you really watched every single one of those fumbles, some of them were really bad on his part. Some of them were just super unlucky. So I don't think it's a huge problem because I think in the second half of the season he didn't have any fumbles at all. So honestly, he looks like he has definitely made an improvement on that aspect, and I think ball security won't be a big problem. I think his only real problem is his injuries. But going into what I think Chris Carson will do this year in the 2020 NFL season, I think he'll try to have a really good year so that he gets a big payday when it comes to free agency or even a contract extension when it comes to the Seahawks. And I think the Seahawks are a good fit for him to have find so much success so early on as pick 249, a really late pick. And I think that the fan base really loves him. He's definitely kind of reminding you of Marshawn Lynch anytime you watch him. He obviously doesn't have the same amount of power that Marshawn Lynch has, but I think he has the good mix of power and elusiveness. And I think it's really fun to watch him, especially with Rashad Penny as a second running back. I think that 1-2 combo is definitely a fun thing to watch, and I think the Seahawks fans really like that. In my Seahawks prediction video that I made about a week ago, I did mention that I think Chris Carson will be around a 1,000-yard rusher or over a 1,000-yard rusher, and now if I really look at it, if he stays healthy, which I mean, he might not, but I'm going to put my prediction as him staying healthy for all 16 games this season. If Chris Carson does end up staying healthy, I think that he could eclipse 1,500 yards, maybe even a nice 12 touchdown season. I think the receiving game he might have around 350 yards with 3 touchdowns. I think he's primed for a big season. Those numbers might be pretty big. That would definitely put him in the top 10 when it comes to running backs in the league, I'd assume. Maybe even top 5. But I think 1,500 yards, if he can stay healthy all of his games, that's a little under 100 yards per game, and he averaged 82 last season and the season before, so if he gets that up to around 95 yards a game, that probably will get him to the 1,500 mark. And I think the touchdowns will be pretty good as well. Obviously, as I said, 12 touchdowns when it comes to rushing and 3 touchdowns in receiving. 15 total touchdowns as a running back is not bad whatsoever. Obviously, there's a chance that it gets split a lot more with Rashad Penny, seeing as though he did so good last season. However, Rashad Penny's injury progress in the whole healing phase hasn't seemed to progress as fast as Chris Carson's had. And Rashad Penny with an ACL injury definitely will take longer than a cracked hip. But, I mean, if Rashad Penny doesn't come back before training camps, I think he's forced to be put on the PUP list. And that will probably keep him out, I think, 6 weeks into the regular season. So that's almost half the year that Chris Carson basically has the running game all to himself, which is a good thing when it comes to numbers, but also could be a bad thing in terms of taking more hits, chance of getting injured. But overall, I think this will definitely be a big year for Chris Carson. And I mean, it kind of has to be if he wants to make the big money that he really needs to kind of guarantee himself for the future. Because running back, there's no guarantees. You can get injured at any time and have your career over with. So he really needs to get that big contract to kind of financially secure himself for the future. Like I said, pick 249, not going to get you a ton of money when it comes to guaranteed money. But if he can get that second contract, a nice 3, 4, 5-year deal as a running back, that will definitely cement himself for the future when it comes to the financial side of his life. But that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like and comment what you think that Chris Carson will do this season down below. If you think that he'll do over 1,500, if you think he'll go under 1,500, maybe even under 1,000, just let me know what you think. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching and have a great day.